Hey friends, as promised, here is the Mykonos Bikini Bottom that is cheeky and ready to go in under 2 hours. And if you're new to my channel and would like to get in on all the latest patterns, then go ahead and click that subscribe button now. For today's pattern, I am using Cascade Fixation yarns in 3 colors, white, light blue, and dark blue, and I've also placed a link to these yarns in the description box below for you to find them. I'm also using a 2.25mm crochet hook, a tapestry needle, a measuring tape, a needle and thread, 1 stitch marker, and some rubber bands. We'll first start off with the dark blue yarn and work up a total of 41 chains for size medium. Next, we'll work 1 more chain to start the next row. Now on the second chain from your hook, we'll work a double crochet stitch. And continue to double crochet each chain across. On the last stitch, before closing it up, pick up the white yarn and pull through 2 loops to close. Chain 1 and turn your work. And no need to bind off the blue yarn just yet. On the next row, bring forward that excess tail and work around it by working your 1 double crochet stitch. This will keep our work nice and tidy and less yarn to weave in. On the next stitch, we'll be working a front post double crochet. So go ahead and insert your hook behind the next post and complete that double crochet. We'll be alternating these 2 stitches by working a regular double crochet stitch and a front post double crochet stitch all the way across. On your last stitch, it should just be a regular double crochet, but make sure not to close that stitch just yet, as we'll be changing yarn colors. So go ahead and pick up your light blue yarn and pull through the 2 loops to close. Chain 1, and you can go ahead and snip off that white yarn. Turn your work, and on this row we'll be working on decreases. So go ahead and work a half double crochet 2 together on that first and second stitch. On the next stitch, work a half double crochet stitch and continue to half double crochet all the way across until the last third stitch. On the last 2 stitches, work a half double crochet 2 together, and before closing that stitch, pick up the dark blue yarn loosely and pull through all loops. Chain 1 and go ahead and snip off the light blue yarn. We'll turn our work, pick up the excess yarn and half double crochet 2 together on the first and second stitch. Next, work half double crochet stitches on each stitch across until you reach the last third stitch. Before reaching the end of the row, I'm picking up the excess tail here which I had earlier, and I'll continue my half double crochet stitches around it. On the last 2 stitches, I'll work a half double crochet 2 together to close. And since I will not be switching yarn colors anymore, I'll continue to work decreases for a total of 15 rows until I have 13 stitches remaining. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back here once that's done. So I've just completed my front portion of the bottom, and from here we'll continue working on the crotch. So I'll stop working on decreases and work even numbers along this row for a total of 15 rows until it looks something like this. This is the total length of the crotch from the front to the back, and I've also placed a stitch marker here in the middle which marks the fold area and also a guide for me to measure the total length of the front. And if you fold it like this, it should meet exactly at the end of where the increase row starts. Now we'll be working on the increase rows by copying the number of rows that we did on the other side. So go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work and work 2 increase stitches on the first stitch. Next, we'll work 1 half double crochet along the row all the way until the second last stitch. And on that last stitch, just work 2 half double crochet stitch to increase. Chain 1 and turn your work and continue to increase each row until you've reached the same number of rows as you did on the front side. Once you've completed all the number of rows, on that last stitch, pick up the light blue yarn and pull through to close that stitch. Chain 1, turn your work, and work 1 more increase row. So we'll work 2 half double crochets on that first stitch while carrying along that excess tail, and continue to half double crochet all the way until the end of this row, and we'll work 1 more increase on that last stitch. On that last stitch, we'll prepare to change yarns again, so we'll pick up our white yarn and pull through that last stitch to close. Chain 1, and we'll turn our work. On the next row, go ahead and snip off that light blue yarn. We won't be using it anymore. Pick up the excess tail and work your double crochet stitches. So here I'm picking up both tails, and on that first stitch I'm working my double crochet stitch, and I'll continue to work single double crochet stitch on each stitch all the way across. On that last stitch, go ahead and pick up the dark blue yarn and pull through that stitch to close. And remember not to pull it too tight. You can snip off that white yarn. Chain 1 will turn our work. First, go ahead and work that single double crochet stitch on that first stitch while carrying along that excess tail. On this side, we'll be working on the post stitch, so depending on which side you're on, go and have a look at the stitch on the other side. And if you're on the back side, you'll need to work a back post double crochet instead of a front post as you did before. For me, I would need to work a back post double crochet stitch. So instead of putting your hook through the front post like we did earlier like this, go ahead and put your hook through the back of the post like this, yarn over and pull through that loop and work that double crochet stitch. And on the next stitch, we'll continue to work a regular double crochet stitch followed by a front or back post double crochet stitch depending on which side you're on. Go ahead and repeat these 2 stitches all the way across, and I'll meet you back here once we're at the end of this row. On that last stitch, it should just be a regular double crochet, and this is how the front side should look like. And if you turn it to the back, it also comes out with a really nice finish pattern. So make sure that the front and back pattern matches on each side. Now, from the last stitch that we worked on, we'll be adding an elastic rubber band to the sides. I'm using a thin round rubber band in black, which I'll also place a link in the description box below for you to go check out. We'll turn to the row side and place the rubber band between our stitches and chain 1 to secure. Next, we'll work 2 single crochets on each row while working around the rubber band. Continue to work 2 single crochets on each row all the way across. Once we've reached that last stitch, just work a regular single crochet, and we'll want to pull the rubber band taut so it doesn't stretch or bunch up. So just go ahead and pull it slightly until it's a little bit bunched up. I'm holding the end here and pulling it slightly until I can feel it along my fingers. Now what I'll do is I'll stretch it out slightly again so that I know it is not too tight and not too loose. Next, what I'll do is I'll just tie one regular knot. I'll do this on this side, and I'll do the same thing on the other side as well. You may snip off the excess rubber band and bind off if you haven't done so already. Once you're done with the knot, go ahead and snip off the excess rubber band as well. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing on the other side together once more. We'll insert a hook through that first stitch, take our yarn, and pull up a loop. We'll take our rubber band and place it between our stitches, chain 1 to secure, making sure they're tight. Now we'll work single crochet stitches, 2 on each row. Once you've reached the end of the row, pull your rubber band taut and snip off any excess rubber band. We've now completed the base of our bikini bottom, and the last thing we have to do is make the ties. But before working on the ties, I'll first need to secure the rubber band with a needle and thread. I'm using a dark color thread to match with my bikini color. And make sure you're doing this on the wrong side to hide any visible stitches. And once you're done, go ahead and work on the remaining 3 sides. Now, let's start working on the ties. With both hands, pull 2 arms length worth of yarn like this image here for a total of 3 times. Next, we'll fold the yarn by dragging more yarn along the pulled yarn with our other hand. This will give us a double yarn to work on. Snip off at the end and work a slip knot. You may use a bigger hook, otherwise the same hook is fine. Now from here, we'll just work a double chain all the way until the end of the yarn. Once you've completed all your chains, we'll now start weaving it through the top of the bikini bottom. If you have a longer hook, you can start at the end, but my hook is slightly shorter, so I'll start in the middle. And I'll insert my hook through the front post double crochet stitch that we did earlier. And I'll pull the tip of the chain all the way through. And I'll do this again at the side to pull the tie all the way through. Now go ahead and make a second tie and weave in through the other side. And to finish off the look, I'll tie a knot at the end of each tie and snip off the excess yarn for a tidier finish. Thank you so much for watching and making it all the way till the end. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, a thumbs up would be so appreciated. And if you're looking for its matching top, I've already placed a link right here in the description box below. And if you haven't received my updates yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button and notification bell. That's all for now, and I hope to see you in my next video.